ahead and get started. All right, we are live on YouTube. Hugh, you can go ahead and take it away.
Hey, hi gang. Hope everybody's doing well on this holiday weekend. Some of the things that I would like to cover is when we're gathering information from the potential merchants that you guys have, there's tremendous amount of confusion on gathering merchant statements. When we're getting the form submitted, we're getting a lot of bank statements. We don't need the bank statements. Don't even ask for them. Just go with the merchant processing statements. That would be much better to get those in order to move forward with giving them a great proposal. That's my main thing. And then on the intake form, be as specific as possible. And I really only need 3 or 4 things on there. Obviously, if they are processing, 3 statements is exactly what we need. If they are not processing, find out what they think they're going to be processing on a monthly basis. And then the most critical question to ask them is, are you ready to get started with a brand new merchant processing account today? If they are, then we're ready to move forward. If they have statements, the same exact question. Are you ready to get a merchant account, a new merchant account after our office contacts you and we're ready to move forward from that point? If they are ready, those are the guys we want to talk to, because if we're getting people just researching what merchant services is, how do I go about doing this and all of that kind of stuff, we'll answer those questions, but you guys as DAC reps should be able to handle that for them. And basically, a merchant services account is the ability to take credit cards as payments at their business. So that's pretty much all I have this week. I would like to open it up to any challenges that you guys are having in the marketplace and possibly help you out with some of the challenges you're coming across talking to merchants. So I'll let you guys ask some questions.
Really quick, Hugh. I just want to chime in and just to make sure there's some clarification. So I know offline you sent an email to me this morning about the bank statements and stuff, but I just want to clarify for people who aren't processing, are we going to be asking them for personal bank statements still, or are we just
I would
collecting
say
that after?
let's leave. Yeah, we'll do that after, because the laundry list of what needs to be submitted on a new business is different for every single merchant account, depending on the risk level, depending on the type of business and the processing that they are asking for. So if you've got a brand new merchant that is requesting, let's say they're a roofing company, and they say, hey, I'm anticipating doing, $60,000, $70,000 a month. A merchant account is simply a extension of credit to the merchant. So the banks are going to evaluate them as if they're applying for credit. So when they say, I think I'm going to do 50 or 60,000, walk them through what that looks like. So if you've got a guy who says, I'm a roofer and I'm going to do 50 or $60,000, you got to drill down and say, what's your average job going to be? So if you're doing 50,000 and they say every job is going to be, $10,000, and we're going to try to put it on a credit card, that's 5 jobs. When we go to the banks are going to want to know, does this new business have the ability to, number one, perform the work? Number two, do we have does that business owner have enough solid credit as you guys go through, like the funding side of things? We want to make sure that they're going to be looked on favorably at the bank, because if they're not, then the rates are going to be higher because they're more risky. But basically all a credit card transaction is a micro loan to the card holder. So when they're putting that through the business, that business is saying that, the credit card processor is going to fill that merchant's account with that $10,000 average job, they're really asking and checking and saying, is this merchant trustworthy enough for us to fill his bank account with $10,000? Is that guy just going to take that money and head to Aruba and we're never going to hear from him again? Again, been in the game 22 years and never seen it happen. So most people that are applying for a merchant account are trustworthy. Their credit might be a little banged up or whatever, but when I submit the initial application to the bank, they're going to say, we're going to need we want to see his LLC papers. We want to see his driver's license. We want to see his bank account statement, business first. And if there's not enough money in the business bank account, because some of the business bank accounts that have been submitted would not help at all because they've only got $20, $30, $40 in them. And the bank's going to look at that and say, I'm extending $50,000 a month credit card processing, and this business has $25 in their bank account. That generally is not going to fly. They're going to bump up the rates on those people to make sure that they're making enough money on their side. And that kind of goes into a whole nother segment that I could cover really quickly. But the bank's number one fear is that if we're dealing with a roofer and they take in $10,000 for a job, there's generally not going to be a dispute or what we call a chargeback in that vein, because you got a roof put on your house. You can't say you didn't have it. The roofer can go out there and take pictures and do their job and everything and say, hey, we put the roof on the guy's house. You can't charge it back or say that we weren't there. The smaller transactions, you might have situations like that at a convenience store or whatever they might complain about. So it's a little bit different for every situation. So the basic information that we all want is statements if you're existing and business name, where you're located, what do you do. If I have the business bank statement and I know that it's Bob's Roofing, I know they're a roofer. And that's what you guys on the front lines should be saying to them. And don't be afraid to have them submit the documents that they're going to submit to us at DAC to you first. So if you see and you say to them, all right, hey, Bob, I know you're a roofer and you said you already have a merchant account. Send to my email the 3 most recent merchant statements. When they send it to you and you open it up and go, that's not a merchant statement, that's a bank statement, call them back and say, send me your merchant statement. That's the statement that shows how many credit card orders you took in a particular month. We can't expect the general public and all these new or existing businesses to even understand. They should understand what a merchant account statement is, but if they don't, you'll say you're going to show how much credit card volume you did in a month, and you're going to show how much the bank took out of your bank account in that particular month. That's the critical information we need. Later on, if there's 10 more items that have to come in, which there are sometimes that many on a brand new business. So hopefully that answers it, but focus on 3-month statements, have them send them to you first so that you can say that is exactly what we need. But since we're leaving it up to them to fill out the form on the DAC portal, we're getting a lot of junk. And we don't want junk because you aren't making any money, we aren't making any money, and it's a waste of time. So let's get concrete results from the people that say they want a merchant account, and then ask them, are you ready to go right now? If you call into Hugh's office, he's going to send you an application. He wants you to fill it out. We're going to submit it. We don't want tire kickers. We don't want people that are just, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But, and tell them, there's going to be some expense involved in getting you set up with a new terminal. Might be $500 for a terminal. If they're not willing to make that commitment to us to get it going on a retail situation or a mobile terminal or whatever, some of the folks that I've talked to that have come in with not having a business set up yet, they get scared that they have to spend, 500, 600, $1,000 to get this thing going properly. It won't be that high, but I always want to build that expectation or forecast for them so that they know when I send them an application and say, all right, now we need a terminal. That's $350 easy, maybe 500, depending on how fancy they want. A mobile terminal, same thing. And, if you don't process in any given month, if you're using traditional processing or dual pricing, you're going to pay roughly $45 to $50 a month if you don't touch your account. So when I explain that all to them, when I get a hold of them, generally they don't move forward. So if you guys can say that to them prior to ever submitting a form, we'll save everybody a lot of time. And we only want the serious people to sign or to log in and put all their data in the DAC form. So hopefully that answers that for you, Tyler.
Yep. And just so I want to make sure it's clarified real easy. So it's in the initial application, it's not necessarily required for bank statements and stuff, but later on, it might be one of those things that we need to collect from them to upload to the bank and stuff. So it's not necessarily required initially, but later down the road, they'll have to get it most likely. Correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Great. And I don't see any other hands up. If you have a question, now is the time. Or otherwise, we will bring this to a close.
Okay, if nobody has any questions, and then if people have, one of the other things too, if people have questions and they want to email them into you guys, Morgan, and then you forward them to me, what you guys have been doing, that's a lot easier so that then you can post that information or put it out there as, Q&As to do that. Like that one we had the other day, somebody was asking, when a DAC rep brings a merchant account from a non-DAC rep owned business, obviously they get paid. If they bring on a merchant that they are also recruiting to be a DAC rep, when that comes in, obviously that new business is going to get credit for because they're a DAC rep now, but you were the initiating person bringing that lead to DAC, then that's a DAC question that you guys should cover with them to let them know that. And I would imagine maybe you guys could answer that right now. If a DAC rep goes out to a restaurant and brings in that deal, I know for sure that DAC rep's getting paid on that. If a DAC rep goes out there, talks that person into becoming a merchant through DAC, but also becomes a DAC rep, does that go in the structure of the DAC organization where person A introduced them, but now the restaurant owner is B? Do they both get paid on the deal? How's that work?
So yeah, I can answer that. So for every service aside from funding, an agent can encourage someone to sign up for payment processing and use that as an attractive factor in it, where they can sign up as an agent themselves and earn, a little residual commission on themselves. We try not to do it just to earn that one quick residual. We try to only have people join that want to be active in David Allen Capital, but whoever's website the new company applies or fills out the form on, that's the ID number that's going to get paid the main residual benefit on the deal. If you're an upline that's qualified, you can, of course, earn on any agents that you recruit as well. So there could be both of them earning, but you can encourage someone to join, and hopefully it is so that they can market other services or because they believe in David Allen Capital, but they can also earn on themselves for payment processing as well.
Okay, so that makes sense. So to me, as somebody who is not a DAC rep, if I'm a business owner and I sign up, I would be the guy getting the commission.
You could be, yes.
On the new merchant account, but my upline would also be compensated somehow?
Yep, if they're qualified in the pay plan, they could be compensated on their personally enrolled agent, yes.
So that answers that gentleman's question from the other day that we handled.
Yep. Yeah. Any commission questions we can answer as well. But yeah, if we do have one hand up, so I can go to him, but any other questions, you can always email support and we will forward it to Hugh, like you said, so that we can see your responses and share them as we get them if it's anything that we don't know on DAC's end.
Right. Okay.
Okay, Christopher Sanchez, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, Hugh. As always, thank you for sharing your time with us.
Yep.
I recently had a discussion with a website that it's kind of like its own community for manufacturing,
Okay.
and they just launched payment processing for members of their website. And they, right now, I think the count was over 1,200 companies are using that service now. So I was talking to them, and right off the bat, they're charging $3.25 per transaction. And I had asked them, go ahead.
Their provider.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what those guys, what does that company that you're talking about do? What service do they provide to the people that are signing up with them? What do they do?
They're a facilitator. They bring together different manufacturers that may not be aware of the other's products or services. I can talk to you in private about that because they're known.
Okay.
And what they had said to me is like, you're kidding. You can bring that down possibly to $1.25. I go, now that is hypothetical because I haven't seen anything yet. You haven't shown me anything.
Mm-hmm.
And they says, well, already after our first 6 months, I mean, we did not anticipate the amount of fees we're going to be paying.
So Chris, and this is good education for everybody, and I know it's confidential and that's good, but this service that is provided, they charge each one of these participants a fee on a monthly basis, or is it yearly?
No, they only charge a fee when businesses use their payment processing service. So say you supply shingles and I'm a roofer.
Right.
This is all commercial grade.
Mm-hmm.
So I reach out to you through this network.
Okay.
And we both already have our banking credentials locked in with this provider.
Okay.
So I say, hey, Hugh, you know what? I got a commercial job coming up. I need shingles for 30,000 square feet. You say, okay, I have that. And it's very, very seamless. You send me over an invoice, I click on it, and the host website processes all of that. Boom. That's simple.
Okay. So when they're doing that, so what we're doing in that situation is we're marrying two different contractors or two different businesses through this service that coordinates them all. So they're a coordinator, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you called it a different name. What'd you call it?
A facilitator.
Facilitator. Okay, so you're facilitating. The main facilitator is getting the roofer and the shingle supplier talking to each other.
Yes.
And they make it happen through their internal system. And either this roofer is buying from the shingle company, they're facilitating the payment at their place, and they're shocked at how much they're paying.
Yes.
We can change that. So yeah, that's basically what they call an ISV, which stands for independent software vendor. So yes, we can make sure whoever their provider is today, we can look at, show us your merchant account statement for making all of these transactions happen. Show us what that is and how much you're paying. And if they're telling you it was what,
$3.25?
We can definitely help them with that. And if they move to dual pricing, then we would instruct them through their merchant account to tell the guy buying the shingles that when you're buying from this particular company, there's going to be a 4% charge. For that, you can pay us cash or ACH or wire the money, or you're going to pay with the card. But if you pay with the card, it's going to be 4%. So as long as we always disclose in whatever environment we're talking about, we always have to give the card holder, which would be the guy buying the shingles, the option of paying cash ACH wire versus a card payment. As long as we do that, we're going to be compliant. We always
Now with
got,
with ACH wiring, what is the fee for that, and does it differ for what bank they're with?
usually it depends on the market. I mean, depends on the business type. You as a facilitator like this is probably going to be able to go to their bank that they bank with and get ACH processing pretty cheap. It's a service that your bank provides for you, but I can provide it, and ACH providers charge a little bit of money to do that, whether it be a per transaction charge based on your industry category. They'll charge you more if you're high risk. If you're less risk, then they'll charge you less. But I've seen it anywhere from, $2 a transaction down to, 50 cents a transaction. But then if you go to your bank might say, we want your ACH business. We'll do it for free.
Mm.
So that's up to them. But then setting it up in this situation where you got the facilitator, the main cog of it, and you've got one business accepting the payment and one business paying the payment, then in that ecosystem, you want to make sure that through a payment gateway, and a payment gateway for everybody, that is basically a virtual credit card terminal. It's a payment gateway is what everybody on this call uses when you pay at Amazon. You're going in there, you're hitting a button, it goes out to a payment facilitator, makes that payment happen, they ship your product and it gets billed. And then that supplier gets part of the money, Amazon keeps part of the money, and the processor keeps part of the money. So they all participate in that. So when we're doing that, if in that invoicing situation, we say on the invoice, you have an option to pay when you're getting an invoice, because you're not physically sitting there to pay cash or with a check, right? So you would have an ACH link inside the invoice that they just punch that link, takes them to an ACH payment, enter your routing and account number, that's paid with whatever fee we determine based on the industry, depending on if the banks that I would submit to say, hey, a facilitator like this is a little bit risky for us, so ACH is going to be 1% and the dual pricing part of it is going to be 0, because we'll pass that on to the card holder when they choose to pay with a card. So hopefully that answers the question. We can make ACH payments happen. Now, if they say, I'll use my own bank because they aren't charging me anything, all right, get a link from them to pop into your invoice. So you would use your own bank and then you'd use us for the processing.
Okay. Forgive me. I know you gave it before. I'm looking at my notes here, but I can't find your email. I really would like to speak to you briefly, 5 minutes, because it's not just one industry they cover.
Yep.
I'll take one segment. Take the manufacturing industry. Just in aerospace, they shared with me that they're doing working with over 200 companies per month,
right,
on weekly transactions.
Right.
And so when I said to them, I says, oh, okay, that's, I'd like to see the numbers if possible of what you're paying. And I says, overall, how many industries do you provide this service for? And they says, right now we're just over, what did he tell me? 65.
Okay.
But it's all commercial. Nothing like I gave the example for the roofing. That was actually a small number, 30,000 square feet, when they shared with me what they were doing with some companies for roofing.
Mhm.
And so I understand what you're saying by industry. It is going to determine what type of rates they will get. But unfortunately, it's just too many for me to list on this call that they currently work in and have been for over 20 years.
Yeah. When you were done with this call, just call me. You got my cell, right?
No, I do not.
248
Okay.
672 3777.
3777.
Yep, so 248-672-3777.
And what would be a good time to call you?
As soon as we're done.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hugh.
All right. I don't know if that handles everything there, Morgan and Tyler.
It does, yep. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
And everyone have a great Thursday. We'll see you next week.
All right. Talk to you guys later. Have a good, safe